Welcome back to the Roadworks channel. In today's video, I want to work on Ned's exhaust system. Initially, I thought I was going to use a bolt-on exhaust system that I could get from Kaiser Willys. But I was thinking about it, and I'm a plumber, and we retrofit a lot of heating systems. And when we do that, we end up taking out a lot of old steel pipe. So I was thinking, you know what? I have all this pipe hanging around, and it doesn't cost me anything because it was scrap, it was torn out. We basically just throw it away or recycle it. And I usually keep a few pieces around just for projects. And I was thinking, could I use that for an exhaust system? It's heavier gauge. It might be a little heavy for the vehicle, but this isn't like this a race car or something that I'm worried about the weight. It's probably a third thicker in gauge than a regular exhaust system, but it is steel, so it can be welded. So I figured, you know what, I'll give it a shot. Worst case scenario, it don't work, it's too loud or whatever, or too heavy. I end up just getting another exhaust system. So if you guys want to follow along, I'm gonna give it a shot and see how it comes out. But enough of me talking, let's get to work. So these are the parts that I got to make up this exhaust system. I got a flexible, which I'm gonna use to tie in the exhaust system that I'm gonna mount to the body in the chassis. And this is gonna be the flexible connection that I'm gonna tie into the part that goes into the exhaust manifold. I want to have this a flexible unit like this, so the rigidity of the exhaust being mounted solidly to the body and the movement of the motor will have some flexibility. I see that they do these in the old Army Jeeps, so I'm not worried about it being like, I think they actually look pretty cool too when they come out of the exhaust like this. So I'm gonna make this the transition from coming out of the motor and going to the body. I have these universal hangers, and I'll show you how I'm gonna use those. I'm gonna get rid of actually the rubber part of it and mount it solidly to the chassis. And I just got a regular muffler. It's actually a small muffler that I got from actually Tractor Supply. It was really cheap, and I wanna try to do this exhaust as cheap as possible. Because I'm not sure exactly how it's going to work. So I want to have a little room for error because this build is definitely on a budget. And if I have to end up getting a new exhaust, I don't want to break the bank on installing this one. So all these parts together was about $50. So if I can get away with doing this with using the scrap pipe, I'll definitely be happier with it because I have had some major expenses with this because like the alternator, the starter, and the wiring harness costs a lot of money. So as much as I can cheap out on some of this stuff, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna at least give it a shot. So this is what we got here. I'm gonna remove this part that I had on here. I'm gonna have to get rid of the shield for now. I might add it on later. I'm not sure. But I'm going to get rid of that at this point, and I'll show you the route that I'm going to run this. Right, so I put a mounting bracket here, right to this part right here. So that locks in the pipe here. And then to the back, I have another one mounted where the original mounting bracket was, right up in there. This process is gonna be hard for me to film a lot of the process, but when I get to a certain point, I'll show you what I ended up coming up with. So now that that's somewhat mounted, or at least in the position that it's going to be in, that gives me an opportunity now to be able to make this connection from the exhaust manifold down to that pipe. And I'm gonna do that using that flexible. So I'm gonna remove this part now so I can get the flexible and see where I need to cut that bottom pipe and where I need to cut the top pipe. So by putting this in position, I can kind of tell where I want this to go. I can tell where I want this to go. It looks like it's gonna have to be real close to the exhaust manifold, so I'm gonna have to cut most of that pipe off. And then down there, I can see that the pipe can be cut pretty much anywhere within that area, and I can make that bend. So what I think I'm gonna do is actually connect it here and get this locked in. Then I can tell exactly where it's gotta be cut on that bottom pipe. All right, now that I got that mounted, I got the flexible welded onto this pipe. Now I have that tightened, but not too crazily tight. Now I can look underneath and see where I have to cut it on that pipe. All right, so that's where that comes down here. So I want that pipe to go into here, probably about like a good 1.5 to 2 inches. Right before it starts making that dramatic bend, because I don't want that pipe to like have pressure on the corner right here. So I think if I cut it here, that's going to be good there. Then following this pipe down to this end, I want to make a direction change to go up so I can miss the travel of the rear end. So I'm going to cut it right back here. But that pipe's going to be cut at an angle. All right, now that I get that in position, I'm not gonna make the final connection there yet because I wanna be able to take this in and out and weld up the different offsets. So now I just have to offset to get over the rear end there. So it looks like I can make like a 2-inch offset to offset up, and then I'll head straight back. All right, so I got that offset done. Now I'm gonna actually mount the muffler, and that's gonna come straight off of the offset. The reason I'm doing this, I'm actually gonna do a completely straight exhaust, and I'll show you why further in the video. All right, so I got that in place. I got the connection here. Let me show you underneath. I get that welded there, runs down, goes into this hanger here, goes straight back into that hanger. They're kind of opposing hangers, so the rocking, it's pretty sturdy. It's locked right in there. The rocking, it shouldn't go back and forth. Then I go straight back, offset up, go straight back. And my thoughts are, I want to do this a little different than the typical setup. I want to get this so I can take this exhaust out, in and out pretty easily if I need to. So I'm going to go straight back, and I'll show you how I'm going to do a kind of a plumber thing at that last section of piping. But what I'm going to do is move this over back to the left, and that's going to make it easier for me to do that last connection. So this is what I'm thinking of doing. I have the muffler and the exhaust brought all the way to this point here. And this is all the way to the back of the very back of the Jeep. So what I'm thinking of doing is drilling a hole here and sticking a nipple, steel nipple through the hole into that threaded nipple with a coupling and extending it out through here, and then just putting a 45 at the end. A black 45. What that makes it possible for me to do is to dismantle this very easily. I can just unscrew it, undo those few bolts, a couple of hangers, and I can remove this exhaust. I think that is a good way to do this. I know it's not the correct way to do it, but for my capabilities and what I want to achieve, I feel like it's going to be a good alternative for me. If I'm able to take that out, I can actually easily access the master cylinder up there. So I just feel like it's kind of the right thing to do. So I'm going to give it a shot. If anybody has a reason that you're not supposed to do that, if you could leave it down in the comments, and I'll definitely consider any other options. But at this point, this will already be drilled out, so I think I'm going to go with that regardless. Bet you never seen somebody install exhaust with a pipe wrench. All right, guys. Well, thanks for hanging out with me today. I know this way isn't for everybody, but this is old Jeep that was abandoned for 35 years, was in really bad shape, and this was my interpretation on how to do the exhaust. It serves a purpose, and other than this hole and this piece of 1/4-inch steel plate, nothing has been ruined on the Jeep that couldn't be fixed if somebody did want to take this all apart in the future and make it totally original. So I'm happy with it. That part is done, and next video I will run it a little bit so you can hear how quiet it is now and how nice it sounds. But not too bad for $50. And custom exhaust for $50, that isn't too bad. But thanks for hanging out with me today, guys, and I will see you on the next video.